to create an environment variable. Paste this. Poetry env use Python 3.9. Okay, so we're in a virtual, sorry, I said an environment variable. I was wrong. We are in a virtual environment. In Python, one thing that often happens is you install Python, you start installing packages from the Python installation packager, and eventually you get two things that don't work with each other. You get two incompatible things. So you run into an error. It's like you can't install, DevTools 3 if you already have DevTools 5. So then you're stuck. You're like, well, I don't know what to do now. I got an error, and you start Googling things. At some point, someone figured out that we can use this thing called virtual environments, where it gives you a clean slate. You install Python, you create a virtual environment inside of some directory, and it's going to pretend that that directory is the only place where Python exists, and so you can start installing stuff in there, and it won't mess up everything else. So that's what we just did. We created a virtual environment inside of our LNBits directory, and then it wants us to install everything that LNBits says we need. So we paste this command, and it's going to start doing that. And did that work for us? It did not. It looks like we got some sort of error. An environment command error. Okay, so good feedback for the people at LNBits. It don't work. The recommended installation method is poetry. It didn't work. It wants us to have a module called dist utils, and we don't have that. So, is there anything else that is an error in here? It's mostly that this doesn't have this thing called dist utils. So I'm going to try to install this thing, see if we can get dist utils, and if that works, then we might be able to proceed. How to install dist utils Debian. Hopefully it's as easy as sudo apt install dist utils. So this guy has an error similar to ours, and it is. It's super easy. You just run this, sudo apt get install python 3 dist utils. All right, so we will try that and then rerun the poetry command. Hey, Ben Ark, if you're watching, you need to mention that if you're using this guide, you need dist utils. All right? Dist utils is already installed and already the latest version. So let's try it again. I don't think this is going to work. Yeah, it didn't work. All right. It isn't able to find dist utils even though we already have it. So we're going to move on to the next recommended way to install LNBits and see if that one works for us. Okay. So we go back to the installation instructions. Scroll down to option 2. Option 2 is to use Nix. I've never used Nix before, so we'll see how this works. Install Nix. How long will it take us to install Nix? Doesn't look like it's going to be that long. It says it's only 5 seconds. Right. Okay, that seems to have worked. Would you like to see a more detailed list of what I will do? No. Can I use sudo?
Maybe search dist-utils.gives. Yeah, that's the.
It seems to be going well so far. Is it going well so far? Is it? Have you seen this before, Santos? Hey, we're moving. Things are happening. All right. So, earlier I mentioned that this is probably the worst presentation I've ever done. Okay, now it wants me to restart my shell. Nix won't work in active shell sessions until you restart them. That's a helpful instruction. I can restart the shell. Great. I think we're doing good, guys. Let me reopen my terminal, cd into the LNBits directory, and we will continue with this thing. This is our next thing. We're going to configure Nix. Paste. Didn't let us. Hey, Ben Ark, if you're watching this, You need to tell people to use sudo when they do this part. Wait, zoom in a little more so you can see it. Okay, so we'll redo this command and I will add sudo in front of it. What do you mean permission denied? I'm the sudo user. Okay, so since it's not working the way I want it to, I'm going to do this. Sudo sublime. I'm going to open the Sublime text editor. With this, I'm going to open this configuration file. Enter my sudo password.
There.
And I got to add this line to it. Experimental features, whatever that is. So here we go. Or actually, I think it wants to add it to the bottom. Let me go check. So the installation instructions, yeah, this, when you see in Linux speak, echo means write. You're going to write this phrase into this file. If there was a single right-facing caret, that would mean overwrite what's in there. But if it's double, it means don't overwrite what's in there, just append it to the end. So I'm doing that. I'm going to append it to the end instead of overwriting it. So we've followed that instruction, a different method. And let's proceed with the next thing. Okay, I can X out of this. I don't need that anymore. And we paste the Nix stuff, and we run it. And we're not seeing errors yet, so that's good. This might work better. This might work. Usually what ends up happening, like the last time I did this presentation, the poetry method did not work. They didn't have Nix available yet, and then the Docker one did. So that might be what happens here if the Nix one doesn't work. But so far, Nix is working. All right, so we got to do this line next. Use LNBits. That looks like an error. This user doesn't have permissions to configure binary caches. You can either run the same command as root. Okay, that means use sudo. That didn't work. Or you can run the following command to add your user as trusted and then try again. Okay. Try that. That seems to have worked. So now we'll try again. And it worked. Okay. Nix is working. All right. I'm happy. I think we're done. Whoops. Okay, so I already cloned the LNBits library and went into the directory, and it wanted me to do that at this step. So we may have ruined everything, but let's just find out. We're gonna skip those two steps because I've already done them, and I'm in the LNBits directory, and I'm going to do nix build and see if we get an error. I'm not seeing an error yet. Things are happening, things are moving and shaking, and it doesn't look like it's going to take all that long. Okay. I approve of the Nix build, Mr. Ben Ark, except for the part where the sudo didn't work. You got to provide people with instructions for that, Ben. Oh, there's Ben. That's Ben in the camera. So I'm looking this way as if the camera's up there somewhere. It's right there. Ben, you need to notice my error here and tell people what to do if they run into that error. I was able to figure it out because I'm Super Testnet, but not everyone can do that. So
I guess every year is different. I
don't know. When I run into an error, I just lean on the fact that I have experience with errors and figuring them out. And it might be because my computer's messed up or something and not what he expects. But anyway, we didn't get any errors, and it seems like we're done. So we should be able to run LNBits now. Or no, we have to make a data directory first. So we do this, paste, and then we do nix run, and we should have LNBits up and running. Nix run. Not seeing errors. In fact, I am seeing something that says success, so that's good. I think we got it. It says it's running on this URL, so I should be able to open that in my browser, and we should see LNBits. We do! Woo! Half the presentation's done. We got LNBits running. And then it gives us some options. We can We can log in with a user ID if we've created that. We can create a wallet. I'm going to do create wallet, and we're going to do a test wallet. And we're going to see an error in a minute. You must save your login credentials. Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to. We're going to see an error here because I'm going to try to create an invoice for 500 sets. And when I do, it's going to say, you can't create invoices with a void wallet. So we're supposed to configure LNBits now so that we hook it up to a Lightning node. So that's pretty easy to do. Or at least I've been told it's easy to do in this new version. So let's go see. Go back to the home page. This is not what I was expecting. Where's the configuration of the thing? Interesting. When I go to this URL, it showed me, okay, but I want to go back to that one page, and it's not letting me. Now it redirects to the wallet. So, Ben, I'm upset with you because I wanted to go back to that one page, and it won't let me. Help, Ben. Make it do. I didn't configure it, and now I'm stuck. Ben, I did actually talk to Ben before doing this presentation, and he told me if this happens, he told me what to do. So thank you, Ben, but make it not do that because that sucked. And what he told me to do is to modify the environment variable manually. So if I do an ls in here, I should see something called a .env file. In fact, I might need to do ls a, and we should see something called .env. That's right here, .env.example. And he said if that thing happens, you modify this file and rename it .env. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to copy that and do .env.example and turn it into .env. Then I'm going to open it up in my Sublime text editor, sublime.env. And here is where we can configure our wallet to connect to a Lightning node, and then we'll be happy. Okay, so there's some admin settings in here, like we can change what it's called. Let me make this bigger so you guys can see the text. Is that good? Is this text visible to everybody? Okay, so we could do some modifications in here to our administrative stuff. The main thing we need is a funding source. When LNBits starts up, the main two things you can do with it right away are create invoices, like I want to receive money, and you can paste an invoice so that you want it to pay. In order to do both of those two primary functions, it needs the ability to generate invoices and pay them. And most of the time you do that with a Lightning node, so we have to connect it to one. You can connect it to various custodial sources, but it tells you what are the allowed funding sources right here. We can, void wallet is the one that just throws an error and says you don't have it set up yet, and that's what the default is. They got something called fake wallet. I've never seen that before. They didn't used to have that, so I'm not going to tread in those waters. We've got Core Lightning. You can set it up to use that. There's another version of Core Lightning that has a REST API, because they finally added that apparently. After many years of not having a REST API, they finally added one. We got LND, which is the one I'm going to show you because I like LND and it's super easy to set up. You can do it with Eclair now, which is great. I don't know what LND wallet is, but apparently you can use that. LNTips is a Telegram bot that is like a Lightning wallet built into Telegram. So you can hook it up to your, to that and use your Telegram account to send and receive payments. LNPay is a really cool website that's like a precursor to LNBits. And I think the guy who made LNPay is really mad at LNBits for stealing everything from him. Because it looks like LNPay was LNBits before LNBits, and then they just sort of copied it. LNBits wallet, you can hook it up to another LNBits and do like nested LNBits. My LNBits is using another LNBits as a funding source. Actually, I'm going to do that one because I think it's hilarious, and then I'm going to show you how to do it the right way. There's a bunch of different options, though, as you can see here. So let's say we're going to use LNBits wallet as ours. And so that's what we're going to do. And then it tells you have to scroll down to the one with the LNBits option. We're going to use the LNBits legend server. as our funding, as the domain we're going to use. And if I go to the Legend server, this is the Legend server. I've got a little wallet here that I created earlier. So I'm going to use its API. So how do you do that? API keys. It needs the admin key. So that's right there. You can see over here it says admin key. So we're going to paste that where it asks for it, LNBits key. Paste there. And we save. And if I restart now, if I restart LNBits by just canceling this and then running nix run, now it says backend LNBits wallet is connected and it has a balance of nothing because I haven't funded it yet. It got mad that it didn't have this extension, but that's fine. That's not a requirement that you have that extension installed. So if I refresh now, we shouldn't get an error anymore. Oops. This is the wrong one. This guy, if I refresh him and create an invoice now for 500 sats, I don't get an error. Woohoo! We're here. We have the ability to fund it, and if we put money in, then we'd be able to send money as well. So that's a really easy way to get started with this, is just hook it up to an existing LNBits instance. And I think it's funny because my LNBits is using his LNBits in order to run. But that's not what we're going to do. This is the wrong way to do it, because then you're not custodying everyone's money. LNBits, the company, is custodying everyone's money, and they warn you explicitly not to do that because they can't, because they suck. All right, so we're going to do it the right way, and we're going to install LND, and then we'll hook it up to that. So we need to install LND now. That's our next step, and then we can change our environment variable so that instead of using LNBits, it will use LND. So let's go to LND and say, I'm going to go to their GitHub. GitHub.com/ what is their Lightning Labs GitHub? I don't remember what their Lightning thing is. I guess it's github.com. Oh, this is it. LightningNetwork /LND. So that's where we're going to download LND from. And if we go to the releases section, everyone goes to GitHub and they get scared. Because when you go to a website like this and you're, a normie, you're like, what's all this? I don't know how to read this. This is code. What am I doing? I want a nice, easy download button. And GitHub doesn't provide nice, easy download buttons. It's over here where it says releases. This is your nice, easy download button. You click on the latest release, which is LND version 17.4 beta. And your nice, easy download button is all the way down there. And then you have to figure out which system you have. So they've got releases for Darwin, which is another name for OS X or Mac OS. It's called Darwin in Linux speak. FreeBSD, which is a whole nother ballpark. We got Linux. That's the one I'm going to use. But if you were on Windows, you'd need to find, there's Windows binaries right here. And then you could download it for your Windows machine. But it also isn't enough to know what operating system you have. You also have to know what chip you have, like what microchip. Because there's ARM Windows and there's x86 Windows and there's apparently something called 3-something or whatever. Most people are going to need AMD 64. That's a standard computer that has an AMD 64 chip. And if your chip has an ARM CPU or, an M1 or some other thing, look for it in this list. But I need Linux, so LND Linux, and then I need AMD 64. And that's this one, LND Linux AMD 64 version 17.4 beta. That's the one I'm going to download. All right, so downloaded it, or it's almost done downloading. There's a little progress bar. Okay, it's done downloading. And now I'm going to go into I'm going to keep this open because I want to edit that environment variable again. I'm going to go into my downloads folder. And I'm going to unpack that thing. So in Linux, we use things called tar files. And I believe what I downloaded here was AMD 64. I believe I downloaded a tar file, did I? Or did I do a zip? Yeah, I did this one, which is a tar file. So tar files are kind of like zip files in the Windows world. So if you're familiar with zip files, they've got a bunch of stuff inside a directory, and you can turn it into something normal and then install stuff in there. So we do the same thing, but instead of doing unzip, we do tar. And instead of doing just saying unzip, we say tar-xvf, which I forget what this means. I think this is extract. This is verbose, so it'll tell us what it's doing, and I don't even know what the F does. But you need those. And then we do LND. That is 17.4, and we're going to unzip it. So it just did. Then we can go into, well, I'm going to remove that LND tar file. We don't need that anymore. And go into our new LND folder. And if we look at the stuff in there, let me make this smaller so that it gets bigger. If we look at the stuff in there, we've got two files. We've got two programs, really. LNCLI and LND. LNCLI is the command line interface for interacting with the Lightning Network daemon. And LND, the Lightning Network daemon, is, a Bitcoin wallet that has Lightning support. And it runs on the command line. So we're going to run that. And when we run it, it is going to need configuration. So I'm going to secretly delete my existing configuration file. Don't look at what I'm doing right now. rm.rf.lnd. Okay. So if we just try and run LND, we're going to get an error. I'm going to do /lnd, and it is going to say, you can't. You need to configure it to either you want to run it on Bitcoin or run it on Litecoin. Yes, you can actually run the Lightning Network on Litecoin, believe it or not. No one does, but it's an option. So in order to configure it, we need to go into our .lnd folder. So it creates, if you're on Linux, it creates a configuration folder that is located at your home directory /.lnd. It did not create this directory. I thought it was going to. I guess we'll have to create it. So we do make directory .lnd, go into it, and it wants a configuration file called lnd.conf, sublime lnd.conf. Oops. So we create a configuration file, and this is one of those parts where you're going to be like, you should put that in the slideshow. Actually, you've probably thought that to yourself 65 times by now. But we need a configuration file, and this is it. This is our configuration file. So I'm going to add this to the slideshow. Well, we don't need the Tor section. We're going to run it on Tor, so I will skip that part. Yeah, we just need this part. So let me create a new file here and say configure LND. Paste that, and you can't see it. Okay, that's better. Make it bigger. And I will tell you, scroll. Okay, so you can do that. Just copy what's in here, and go to here and paste it into your configuration file. Now I'm using Sublime Text Editor to edit my configuration file. It doesn't have to be Sublime. You could use Nano, you could use Vim, you could use Visual Studio, you could use Notepad if you're on Windows. Anything that can edit text will do fine for editing your configuration file. And you add this stuff to it. Now what does this do? This tells LNBits to listen for connections on port 9735. The Lightning Network is a network, so you need to listen to other people who are on it. And then it does a bunch of other stuff. It sets Bitcoin active because we don't want to use Litecoin. It wants us to use mainnet so we can use real Bitcoins for this. We're going to run our node in neutrino mode. That means we don't need to run a full Bitcoin Core node. We can just run a light client. And then it gives us an instruction here. If you want to run on testnet, this is a note from me. In my experience, it is wise to remove all add peer commands. But we're not going to run it on testnet. We're going to run it on mainnet. So we're going to add a peer, btcd mainnet, And we're going to do a bunch of other peers from Zap HQ because my good friend Jack Mahlers, he's not a good friend, I have not met him yet. Someone's good friend, Jack Mahlers, runs this great website where he has a whole bunch of peers you can connect to. And the one downside of neutrino mode is it doesn't know what the fee rates are on Bitcoin because it doesn't have a mempool. It doesn't have a copy of the mempool. So you have to tell it a URL that'll tell it what the current fees are in order for it to create transactions and such. And this URL will do that. This will tell you that, you know, if you want to have a transaction confirm in 2 blocks, then you're going to have to pay 180 sats in fees, 180.688 sats in fees per byte. And then it's got, you know, estimations for various block height targets. Okay, so that is going to help. And we've got our file configured. So now if I rerun the LND command, which was, I believe, in this tab, if I rerun the LND command, I shouldn't get an error now. And we should have LND start up for us. And we do. So LND is reaching out to its peers on the network from, you know, Jack Mahlers and the other one I put in. It is now synchronizing with the blockchain. And it's not downloading, like in neutrino mode, it doesn't download the entire blockchain and validate everything because that would take too long. It just downloads these things called headers. And those are much quicker to download. You can see over here, it's at block height 200,000. And the real Bitcoin network is at block height. Let's go check. The real Bitcoin network is at block height 800,000. So it's already over a quarter of the way done after only a few seconds of syncing. By the way, the halving is coming up. I don't know if you all are aware of this, but pretty shortly, we only got 1,000 or so blocks remaining. And we will be, and we will have a new, we'll be at like block height 840,000, I think. And then we'll have a new subsidy of only 3.125 Bitcoins per block, which is cool. You know, the disinflationary aspects of Bitcoin are working as intended. Let's see if it's done. No, we are 3/4 of the way done, though. It's already at 700,000. So this is a nice thing about neutrino. You know, you've never synced. You've never synced a node this fast, right? Neutrino does it quickly, but it's not as secure as a full Bitcoin node because it's only doing partial validation. And I think we're done. Yeah, we're at the tip of the block height, and it is ready for us to proceed with the next thing. Okay, so what is the next thing? It needs some stuff. In our environment variable, we need to connect it to our node. Our node is listening for, by default, LND has a API that things like LNBits can talk to it with. And that API, by default, listens for commands at this port 8080 on our computer. And so that's good. We want that. That is the default port, and we didn't change the defaults. It needs something called a TLS certificate, and it needs something called an admin macaroon in order to do this stuff. So we can get those, but in order to get those, we need to create them, because I don't think we have them. If I do a list stuff in this directory, oh, we do have one. There's our tls.cert. And then our admin key, we shouldn't have one of those. I think we need to create a wallet first. So if I go into, it would be in data, and then it would be in chain, and then it would be in Bitcoin, and then it would be in mainnet, and it would be here. But we don't have a admin.macaroon file because we haven't created a wallet. That is what we're going to use LNCLI for. So open up a new tab, and we've got LNCLI in here. So I'm going to run LNCLI create. Well, I'm going to show you the commands. If you do LNCLI help, it will tell you all the different commands you can run. And the one we want is to create a wallet. Or I think it might just be create. Does anyone remember if it's create or create wallet? We'll try create and see if it gives us an error. It's create wallet?
Yeah, sure.
It's happy. It likes create. So it wants us to create a password. I'm going to use the word password as my password. Never do that. In real life, you would want to create a good password. It wants to know if we want to import an existing seed phrase or create a new one. We will create a new seed phrase. It wants to know if we want to encrypt our seed phrase. I don't, so I'm just not going to. And there are our private keys. So you should save those in a safe spot. And I'm not going to, because this is just a demo and we're not actually going to put money on this. But what I do need to do is, if I go back to this directory and do an ls now, we have an admin.macaroon. Check it out. It's working. Things are moving and shaking. So to find our tls.cert, it's going to be in home/Super Testnet for me. On your computer, you'll need to find that file. But if I do an ls of this on my computer, ls this, we can see that the TLS cert is right there. So it will happily grab it from there. And then we also need to change Bob to Super Testnet here. And if we do an ls of this, ls of this, we can see that it'll be able to grab our admin.macaroon from all the way on the left there, top left. This one. Okay, so that should work. And if we save that, and then we say we no longer want to use the LNBits wallet as our endpoint, we want to use LND, then we can do that. We can say LND wallet, save. I think it's LND wallet. Is it REST wallet? Yeah, I think it's the LND wallet. Yeah, okay. So we'll try it. And we will restart LNBits. Backend LND wallet connected and with a balance of nothing. So we should still be working now. If we refresh and create an invoice for 500 sats. Great, it was even faster because it didn't have to query over the internet. It just was able to get it right from our own node, which is fast. So yeah, we've succeeded in installing LND and connecting it up to LNBits. At this point, you would need to open channels and go further with that stuff. But yeah, I think that's mostly what I need here. I was going to show you next how to use LND, but I've only got 8 minutes left, or how to use LNBits and like use its API. But I've only got 8 minutes, so I will just refer you to prior videos. If you do a search for Super Testnet LNBits on YouTube, you can find prior videos where I've instructed people on how to do that. Yeah, the main thing is now you've installed LNBits. Any questions? No? Well, he's got one. What's up, Omer?
After using the doctrine option or even the fly.io option.
I've not gone down the option of using fly.io. I have done the Docker option. And Docker is one nice thing about Docker is, remember earlier when I told you how with Python you can create like a clean slate and not have anything installed in a virtual environment Docker does that for like your entire operating system. If you use the Docker method, it will create a clean slate operating system, like a virtual one, virtual machine inside your computer, and it'll install LNBits in there. And then you're much less likely to run into errors because your PC isn't messed up. You're using a virtual one that it created just for LNBits. So that's nice. And then there's a website, fly.io, where you can deploy Docker containers or these virtual machines that have like LNBits already installed in them. You can just deploy that to a website like fly.io, and it'll let you do that. I have not used fly.io. I have run the Docker method. I usually don't like Docker because I like screwing up my PC, and Docker prevents me from doing that. So I don't usually use the Docker method. I do what we did here. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm ending early. Oh, we got 2 more questions. What's up?
Sorry, me first or
You first. Yeah.
as you talked about this as being a potential Uncle Jim wallet for Lightning, how would you back up to wallets, like at least the balances for the wallets, for the people you're supporting if something bad happens, these crashes.
Well, all the money is on your node.
Yeah, but if I'm doing it for others, like their wallets, how does LNBits take care of that? Or how does that?
LNBits stores all user data in a database, and I believe the database. If we go into the LNBits directory, I think I can show it to you. In data, so let's go into the data directory. It's this database.sqlite3. All user info is stored in there. You can download a SQLite Explorer and view its contents. If I just open this up in an editor, it's going to look like random data because it's encoded in a way that SQLite likes. You can't. This isn't human readable, but you can download a SQLite Explorer to make it human readable, and it'll show you. This user has this balance, that user has that balance, and do it that way. You have a backup here of all user data, so that's where it is. SQLite is one of the coolest projects in all of computerdom. Next question.
I was really similar to that. I was thinking of with kids on like onboard versions using LightningNetwork. It's just lightning that I run myself, so it'd be like Jermaine, like level rated.
I've done that and I've had good success with it. There are.
It has a POS, right? That's POS terminal.
Yes, one of the extensions is called Tiny POS, and it looks like a calculator. You type in an amount, and then it gives you a QR code, and it'll send that to your merchant's wallet. In fact, let's go see. Let's go see it, because there was an error about TPOS. Oh, there it is. It's the only thing installed. LNBits usually comes with a suite of extensions, and recently they started moving them out so that you have to find the GitHub repositories for those extensions and then install them from GitHub. But apparently they kept TPOS in, and so let's just see if it works. If we open it, oh, that didn't work. Ben, you got an error. No, there was an error earlier about TPOS. In theory, yes, you can. Let's go see how it looks on the Legend server. If I go to TPOS. The extensions thing is taking a little bit to load on here. And enable that. You can create a new POS. POS is not what it sounds like. It's point of sale. And it is what they call those little devices that you stick a credit card into. But this one does it for Bitcoin. So test POS. You can select what wallet you want it to send money to. I'll just send it to a test wallet. If I was on my instance, I would be doing it there. And then you can set what currency you want to use. You can enable a couple of options. You create it. And then you just visit this, and they can be like, yeah, we want $5 for a sandwich or something. Actually, inflation, I'm reminded of that. We want $15 for a sandwich. Hit OK. And then they pay that, and it goes into their wallet, and you're happy. They're happy. So I've done this for merchants, and I've had some success. So yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Any other questions?
You got one more slide about that.
Don't be sorry. I've got 3 more minutes to fill.
It's running on your machine right now, but say...
Well, this one's not. This one's running on the Legend server, but...
The Legend server. Okay, so I guess that's answered my question. I was going to ask you about scalability. If I wanted to run something like this and say for specific vendors, and say their activity fluctuates depending on a month, depending on whatever it is that they're doing, is this an approach I could take to be able to handle a vendor who might have, low periods of time, but then maybe in the summer or certain 70 years, they pick up an activity?
Yeah, the thing you have to watch out for is you're managing the channels. If you're doing the Uncle Gem model, which I think is great, you're managing the channels, and if they have a sudden pickup in activity in the summer, they can easily deplete your inbound capacity because they're receiving so many payments. Automated channel balancing tools like Balance of Satoshis can assist you with that. There's probably other workshops about doing channel balancing that later in the day, and that will help you. And then you should probably charge a fee. If you're doing this, you could bill them and say, hey, as the guy running your instance, it cost me $50 a year to do this for you, so I'm going to bill you $100 or something.
Similar. So if you haven't done a good job managing auditing, what does an end user see when they try to generate an invoice and get paid? Do they get a good error message or is it a random error message?
I forgot to do this. I usually try to remember to repeat the question for the microphone, and I forgot to do that for everyone, but I remembered for you this time. The question was, if you run out of inbound capacity and then someone tries to create an invoice, do they get an error message? They don't get an error message when they create the invoice. No. When they try to pay it, the sender's wallet will give an error that says couldn't find a route. That's the error you get.
Yeah.
So make sure you have balanced channels, and I recommend automating that. The thing about automating it is the automated tools suck, and you end up paying more by automating. So if you can find an edge there, you're in luck. That's it. That's all my time. Thank you for coming to my workshop about how to install and use LNBits. We got through half of it. Thank you, and have a great rest of your convention.
Grandpa, why do you have so much Bitcoin?
Well, it all started in the year 2023 when I attended a conference called BitBlockBoom.
What's BitBlockBoom, Grandpa?
It was a conference where people talked about Bitcoin. This was way back when we used something called the US dollar for money.
What? Bitcoin wasn't always the world's money?
If it weren't for great speakers at BitBlockBoom like Jimmy Song, Adam Curry, and Preston Pish, we'd all be living in pods and eating bugs. Instead, I was able to avoid fiat enslavement and secure generational wealth.
F***ing legend.
Be the legend your grandchildren deserve. Experience the best Bitcoin conference out there and join the Bitcoin revolution. BitBlockBoom, the only conference for true Bitcoin maximalists. Book your tickets today at bitblockboom.com and use the code BBB1 for a special discount.